Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fifth Quarter Fantasy Cast. It's your boy, Coach V. We're back, and I'm here with my co host, Dr. Dry. And we have our producer extraordinaire in the house, Peepaw. Yay. All right. Well, welcome back, everyone. How has your fantasy summer been?
Lots of Go ahead, you 30-year-old.
Anticlimactic, not much going on, but we did all do a new Dynasty startup league, so we got that going. Excited for that. It's my first personal Dynasty league, so interested to see how that goes out. Ready to get actually schlacked every single week, so hopefully just not trying to get taken advantage of one too many times and make it through the first season.
There you go. I know you've been turning down trades here and there, so
Absolutely.
playing it safe. That's a good way to go. Yeah. I was just gonna say we're all in that new Dynasty league because we can't stop. So, anyway, I'm doing another Dynasty league with Super Commissioner Ben and a bunch of his buddies. And let me tell you about these first three rounds. So. At the fourth pick, at the 1-4, Justin Jefferson, great. At the 2-7, Bijan Robinson. At the 3-4, Jahmyr Gibbs. It's a 10-team league. They just let me have 3 top 10 guys. I'm fine with it. So anyway, yeah, everyone go ahead and comment. Let me into that league. So anyway, yeah, that's been a ton of fun. We just finished that slow draft a couple nights ago, and then we were all in our draft or in our new league, and that's just waiting for the new season to start. So anyway, we'll probably get started with some best ball drafts here soon, just to kill the boredom. But we are getting closer and closer to that prep for the season long drafts. Coach V, what you been up to this summer?
Fantasy. I've been keeping up with a lot of fantasy news. I think there's a lot of fun things going on. People trading places. Me, I like just to feel it out. In our new dynasty league, I went with a lot of old heads. Just said, "F it, let's get some old heads." I also learned about the largest league I've ever heard. There's this guy who I met who is in a league with 20 teams.
Oh,
And it's only his second year playing fantasy. And he thinks this is normal. And I was like, 20 teams? And it's like a redraft league. And there's like 2 receivers and 2 running backs and a quarterback. And I'm like, who are you starting at receiver in a 20-team league? So I'm like really excited just to follow his year of fantasy. I want to be like, so who you playing this week at tight end in your 20-team league? So yeah, so that's pretty insane. Have you ever heard of a 20? I mean, I've never heard of more than like a 12 or 14 team league.
Yeah, I've been in a 16-team dynasty, won it. That was a fun year. I had Antonio Brown before the CTE. I had who else? What was the hell was that guy's name? He was really good for Jacksonville for 1 year. Allen Robinson. That 1 year he was good. And then anyway, yeah, we had a good little run there. Um, but yeah, I mean it's been a fun off season. Excited to get into some season long stuff. I did start a Dynasty channel, but I don't think I'm gonna finish it. Um, just kind of got bogged down with some things. So anyway, and it's way more fun to be doing a channel with you guys than by myself. So we'll see where it goes. I don't know, but might not completely shut it down yet.
Yeah, your Dynasty channel currently has 1 video.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
One
All
video.
right. Well, 1 video makes a channel, so that's
Yep.
all you need.
6 subscribers. So if you want to subscribe
Dang,
to the
wow.
Dynasty Doctor, we need a 7th subscriber. We're looking for one.
And you might or might not get a second video.
Yeah. Can't promise any content. So go ahead and subscribe.
Okay, so today we're breaking down. We're gonna go division by division over the course leading up to regular season fantasy draft kind of stuff, just like we did last year, except we're gonna do it together. So last year we did these by ourselves and it was cool, but this year we're gonna do it together, which will make it more fun and probably more informative, I hope. So we're starting with Dr. Dry's home area, the AFC North. We know that we have a lot of friends in the AFC North who watch the show, so we figured we'd start there. And so we're gonna start with Cleveland to really just bring it home. And so I know we've all prepared a few little things about each team. So I'll kick it off with just a question, which is Nick Chubb's ADP is like in the hundreds, just about. Do y'all think Nick Chubb can make a comeback, and is there value there at ADP 104 for Nick Chubb?
For what it's worth, I did take him in the dynasty draft that we were all in. Can't remember exactly which round. It was later round, mid-late round. But just to give a shot, if he does have any of the same juice he had last season, I think it's worth the shot in the dark to see if he does actually come back to the second half of the season and produce it, even if it is a halfway decent year, but it's only at the tail end, then you still have a little bit of depth to fall back on if he actually does end up doing something. So, where did you say his ADP is right now?
When I looked it up, it was like over 100. It was like 104.
It's going to be a situational basis depending on how your draft pans out. I mean, I certainly wouldn't reach for him any soon by any means, but if you can get him at a decent round where you think he'll benefit your team in the long run, I mean, maybe it's worth a shot, but that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And my 2 pennies is let's see. I don't think Nick Chubb is Nick Raging Hard on anymore. I think he's definitely back down to Nick Chubb. And he, heck of a talent, generational talent as far as it goes on for running backs. But I don't think I'm getting near him. He's just been too hurt. I forget how old he is, probably 27, 28 now. I'm just not getting near him. I'm probably more interested in Jerome Ford. I understand if he slips like past that 104 ADP and you want to take a shot on him if it's the right time, and that's but usually in the 10th round, I know I'm seeing guys who are younger with maybe some good upside that I might want to take more of a risk on. Nick Chubb, when healthy, we've seen first, second round pick, but I think he's just, I don't know, this last injury was just too big of one to come back to being the old Nick Chubb. So that's my 2 cents on Nick Chubb. But the Browns, I don't think they've had any major draft picks of like any note or anything like that. Their big offseason addition was Jerry Jeudy. So wasn't sure. I know Vinny had another point, but I guess what are y'all's thoughts on the addition of Jerry Jeudy? Do you guys think he could bounce back in Cleveland, or what do we think?
Yeah, I think like I wrote down Njoku, yes, all day. Like he showed a connection with
I like that.
he showed a connection with Watson, and he showed a connection with old man, what's his face?
Black attack.
Yeah, the flag attack. And so, but right next to Njoku, yes, I wrote, who knows about Jerry Jeudy or Elijah Moore? Like, I think they're basically the same guy. Like, they both came from a place to this place with a lot of hope that things would be different. And at least in Elijah Moore's case, nothing has been different. It's been a lot of hype for nothing. And I feel like they're the same guy. So I'm thinking Judy's not going to do anything much different. I think he'll play better than he did like the last year and a half, 2 years in Denver, but it's not going to be like Amari Cooper's still your guy there if you're going to F with some of the Cleveland receivers. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling Judy. Are y'all feeling Judy in any kind of way?
I think he'll help take some of that pressure off of Amari Cooper to be the guy. I know you got Njoku there as well to help with that midfield, and scored a lot of tutties last year for all that. But I think Judy would be a solid addition. He's definitely got a better shot here than he had while he was with the Broncos. They've been a flaming dumpster fire since he started with the team, and he's only 25 years old. So still a bright future for him, I think. Just a matter of getting the opportunities. I think he's loaded with talent and speed.
To add to that, Jerry Judy can go to hell. I think I'm not taking Jerry Judy. Just because I think I was really in on him last year. Almost threw him on the God Squad, and he just came up small, tiny, especially in those primetime games. Steve Smith called him out, and I think he was kind of right on him. But maybe he gets a new shot here in Cleveland, here in my backyard. Deshaun Watson, we'll see what he looks like. I'm trying to think if there's anyone I don't think there's anyone I'm like super excited about on Cleveland this year, which feels weird because usually they're very fantasy friendly. So maybe Big Booty Judy proves me wrong here, but I don't know. I just not sure how I'm feeling about the Browns. I think they had a lot of good luck games. Like a lot of games kind of went their way last year. Um, but yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe Deshaun Watson gets it together. Not getting the rub and tug anymore. Maybe um, maybe he is a little more focused this year. Has a little bit more time under his belt. But Joe Flacco balled out. He won people fantasy championships last year, so he's
Yes.
gone. But we'll see what happens with the Browns. That's kind of where I'm at with them.
Yeah, I think it's do or die for Watson. Like, even though
This
they
is
owe
it.
all that money, they're ready to cut him and move on if this just doesn't work out. I don't think he's ever been right. Like, I think his shoulder's still off. I think he's one of those who's just, I mean, if you're being paid like that, you're going to hide injuries. So, I mean, he's hiding whatever his injury is with his shoulder. It could be like something more. But anyways, we got Jameis Winston waiting in the wings. So everyone loves Jameis
like him.
Winston. He's like everyone's darling in fantasy. Just crab legs out the window. So yeah, I mean, like, if it doesn't work out, that's fine. Like, Jameis Winston was helpful last year. He's fantasy friendly. I don't know. I feel like maybe even like some of your receivers on Cleveland are going to get a boost if it's Winston over Watson. So yeah, Cleveland. I don't know. I wasn't that excited to talk about Cleveland. Sorry, everyone who lives near Kevin, but there's other teams on here that are more exciting. So we're going to Baltimore next, and so I think the Ravens had an interesting offseason. I was going to kick it off with Derrick Henry is now a Raven. And do y'all think it'll be more of strategic usage, or will he be taking a workhorse role with the Ravens?
My worry is you end up in another situation similar. Obviously, we're not at that stage yet, but talking about the Eagles, same situation where you got Jalen Hurts, and then you got Saquon in the backfield with a mobile quarterback. You got a mobile quarterback in Lamar. You got Derrick Henry who can pound it up the middle. So, what do you do when you're at the goal line? We need those touchdowns. I'm hesitant in a situation that he's in, not really questioning if he can do it. It's a matter of if the system will play in his hands or not.
Yeah, I think he could lead the league in touchdowns this year.
If the
One
Gus
thing I worry
Bus
about.
can, he can.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fit in Baltimore. But the two things that kind of worry me, and he hasn't fallen off yet. He's really only had one significant injury a couple years ago. But I do worry about him he's what, 30, 31 now or something?
Yeah.
And on top of that, one thing that Coach V alluded to last season that he noticed was just like whenever players get hurt in Baltimore, they tend to come back a little too early and re-injure, and their running backs are just always hurt, which it's something in their strength and conditioning coach or something, like there's a problem there. So I think if healthy, and he is right now, I think he could be really, really good as far as like drafting the guy. And we, as a Titans fan, like, we're gonna miss King Henry, but he was getting up there in age, and best to kind of, get out of it while you still can, I guess. And anyway, um yeah, King Henry though, he like, oh, where was I going? I had a good closing argument and I forgot it. But But yeah, King Henry, he definitely could lead the league in touchdowns, but at the same time, is at that age point. But as far as drafting him goes, he's, I forget where his ADP is at right now, but I've heard that he's in the second. I've heard that he's in the third. Hate him in the second round. Love him mid third to late third. And it really depends on who's off the board. So, if it's in like a dead zone where like you're thinking about maybe going quarterback a little early or something, take that shot on Henry. If you went wide receiver, and you need a hero running back in the third round, that's a great cheap running back to get. So, yeah, I mean, Ravens definitely made some moves this offseason with the addition of Henry. I know they drafted Devontae Walker out of UNC. We still have our boy Zay Flowers there. I think he should have a big year. Mark Andrews, I'm not touching him. I think he's just injury prone at this point. I know when healthy, he's Lamar's guy, but Zay Flowers, I think he's going to have a big bounce back year. He was on the God Squad last year, and I think he was one of those that we were, happy with at the end. So I think he kind of builds on that. He also like everyone's most recent memory of him is the fumble in the playoffs at the end zone, resulting in the touchback. And I think he's going to be working at getting that taste out of his mouth all year. So Zay Flowers is about to bloom.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens' whole passing game didn't really click until the back half of the year last year, with the new offensive coordinator and with the youth, Zay Flowers. So I think year two, Zay Flowers is looking good if they can just build upon how they finished. But then I love Isaiah Likely. Like, he looked so good to finish the year last year. Andrews is injury prone. He already established like he has a good connection with Lamar. And so Isaiah Likely, that's my guy, man. Like, I'm trying to get him, and you can get him for nothing. And I think he could be like, I don't know. Like, I think he could take over for Andrews if Andrews keeps coming out like shit. And so, I mean,
So you're very likely to draft him.
I'm very likely to draft him. So anyone drafting against me, just go ahead and take him. Maybe round 2, round 3. That way, just good idea. Just get him off my team. So, but yeah, I think the Ravens are going to take that step. I do think about like Derrick Henry's the highest profile running back the Ravens have had since what, like Ray Rice? Like, when was the last time they had a star running back? They've just been rocking like rookies and random like guys for a
Gus
long
Edwards and stuff. Jake, just kidding, Bobbins. He's never gonna play.
time.
Yeah.
So I just wonder what that'll look like, them having a high profile running back. Because I mean, when they had a high profile running back, now this was a different league. Like, this was back when running backs used to be like the thing. But then that like first couple seasons with like Ray Rice was insane. So anyways, I just wonder what that's going to look like. But I think it'll be a good home for him. And if he can just get all the goal line carries, like, now it might hurt Lamar's value, but that's all right. I don't know. We'll see. But I think the Ravens are looking up.
Yeah.
And that's my question I had to get y'all's 2 cents on and get your opinion on how you think the backfield's going to operate when you got Keaton Mitchell. I know he got injured towards the season last year, but we saw the burst that he had. So, assuming he gets back healthy again, how do you think the backfield looks with Henry and Mitchell sharing the backfield together?
I think it might look a little like Henry and Spears, but I think Mitchell's faster than Spears. So I think it's still going to be Henry's backfield, but maybe Mitchell is like the guy who spells them a little bit. Maybe like a 80-20 split or something like that. Maybe situational Mitchell gets in. Until Mitchell gets healthy, I think a good super deep dynasty stash, Rasheen Ali. Um, if no one has any idea who he is, watch his highlights on YouTube. He went to Marshall, and he's got some really good highlights. He definitely put up some stats too. So he's kind of a sneaky. I mean, like he does not need to be drafted and redraft or anything like that. But someone to keep an eye on, like potential like Derrick Henry goes down week 1, like he might be the ad until Keaton Mitchell is back. But yeah, Keaton Mitchell, he's lightning in a bottle. He's definitely an exciting player. So hopefully he gets some play because he's better than Rasheen Ali, but just someone to kind of look out for.
Yeah, I think Henry has to be the lead back because when you think about like his game, he has to get enough touches to like wear down a defense to do his thing. He has to get enough like 2 yards, 0 yards, 1 yard carries to finally. That's how he operates. So if it was a 50-50, Henry would not be as valuable because his game is like I make people tired and then I do something big. Now the Ravens might use him completely differently, but that's how I feel about the backfield. And I don't know if Keaton Mitchell was ready. Like, I mean, he was so great in what we saw, but man, we have not seen much on the field from him. We just, there's a lot we don't know. There's a lot we hope for. But yeah, and they keep trying to make Rashad Bateman a thing. I don't know if you've noticed that, like all over Sleeper and stuff, but it's just like Rashad Bateman. It's like, no,
Sucks.
we're not doing it.
Yeah, no, not a fan. Like people won't let him die in dynasty communities either. Um, Like I keep hearing like other analysts talk about like, oh, this is the year for Rashad Bateman. And it's like I feel like we've been saying that for 5 years now. Like if it I don't know, you have to cut ties in dynasty leagues. Like if someone doesn't show out that first year or show any signs of showing out, they're out. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, Rashad Bateman can go to hell too.
Okay, so that's the Ravens.
You
what do
forgot
think?
perhaps the most important position that you have not discussed yet.
Okay.
I'm perhaps the only one who actually enjoys kicker league. So the ageless wonder Justin Tucker, if he's available in the first round, you best take his ass.
And that's doctor's orders.
Proceed.
And
I'm sorry to
pick your
interrupt.
favorite and people.
We have a new tag. Peepaw's people.
Peepaw's people.
Peepaw's grandkids.
Yeah, Peepaw's grandkids. That's a good one.
Okay,
That's
so
great views right now.
Shout out Justin Tucker. All right, as you were saying, we're moving on.
we're moving on. Do we want to answer Matt's question in the chat? Superfan Matt has asked us a question to me and Peepaw. I'm guessing he's already asked you this question then, Dr.
We've been over it a few times.
He hates your opinion. So he received is that George Pickens?
Yeah.
Okay, he got George Pickens and a first rounder next year for Tank Dell this year. For Tank Dell, that's what he got. Who won the trade? I mean, I can't remember Matt's team, how it's set up. Could he afford to not have Tank Dell? But if we're just going like without even knowing anyone's team, I would say Matt came out a little bit ahead just because there's this much unknown about Tank Dell this year with the addition of Diggs to the receiving core. What's going to happen to his value? And we know a lot about like what's going to happen for George Pickens, and obviously a first rounder next year is a nice move. So without knowing the rosters, I'd say, Matt, you came out a little bit ahead in that situation. What do you think, Peeps?
I'll refrain my comments on George Pickens until we get to that star-studded team.
Can I get a Dale? Yeah, brother.
But to get a first rounder, I think is always crucial. It's massive for a pickup, in my opinion. Obviously, we don't know how Tell's going to do coming off the injury, and the wide receiver core in Houston is pretty stout. So, be interesting to see how if they can feed everyone that's on the team. But getting the first rounder, another player in exchange seems pretty good to me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go, man.
And
How did you
stop eating sunflower seeds? What?
How had you evaluated that one previously?
I lean toward the, and forgive me, Tank Dell, but I lean toward the George Pickens in 25 first rounder. Simply because of what this 2025 first round class is looking like. It's looking very juicy at running back. So I like that. I think Tank Dell is easily the wide receiver 1 in Houston, or the wide receiver 3 in Houston, or the wide receiver 2 in Houston. So I mean, wide range of outcomes. But I mean, I'm hoping he's still the one, but like we got to see how it shakes out. You know, I don't know, George Pickens, I think he's due for a bounce back. He actually has some good, like, or at least mediocre quarterback play coming up with Russell Wilson. So much better situation than being with Kenny shit the bed Pickett. And so, you know, things are looking up for sexy George.
It's so hot. So now we will move on to the Bengals. So Cincy had a pretty chill offseason. There was, a lot of like speculation around T. I suck ass Higgins, which I was like, hey, lose him, it's fine. Like I was worried the Titans were going to get him, and I was like, don't do that. But yeah. So, anyways, not a huge thing. The main thing is just getting Joe Burrow back. I'm trying to think. I thought there was a quarterback last year that was gone all year that everyone forgot about. But there's been situations like that where, like, just because someone was gone a whole year, we kind of forget about them. And so, right now, Burrow is ranked like QB6 in ADP. And so, do y'all like that spot, Burrow, QB6, or do you feel like you could get a little bit of value out of that? How do you think about his current status and where you would take him on the draft board?
I think the quarterback you were thinking of was Aaron Rodgers. He escaped to the dungeon. We all forgot about it while he was there. He only played a couple snaps and then injured. So that's who you're thinking of.
Yes.
Yeah, I like him at QB6. I like him. So in a recent Dynasty startup, I got him QB 11. Like I waited forever on quarterback, and he just kept slipping. And I almost got Lamar Jackson in that range. I don't know what that was. That was the league where people just kept falling and falling. So, anyway, I love him at QB6. I think that's right for him right now. We had him like kind of flirting with that QB 3-4 last year. Like I know I was really high on him. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Joe Burrow definitely. I'm expecting a bounce back from him. I like Jermaine Burton. I like that they added him as their wide receiver 3, and eventually he'll replace T. Higgins. They're going to let T. Higgins walk. He's going to become their 2. But love him as a dynasty play. But yeah, I mean, definitely some moving pieces over there in Cincy. But yeah, I like Joe Burrow at that ADP.
Nice. Yeah, I think Burrow's a good move. especially if he's slipping down the board. And I think sometimes it's like people just forget about a player, and that can be your advantage if you remember all the players. If you're someone, I mean, heck, you're playing in like a newbie, you got some newbies in there. Well, they're not going to know much beyond the previous year of football. And so Joe Burrow was not really discussed at all. And so, hey, take advantage of that. Do y'all think they're going to be missing Joe Mixon in any way, or is Zach Moss a legit RB1? I mean, they got Zach Moss, and they got Chase. So, what do we do there? Are they going to be like, damn it, we should have paid Joe?
I don't think so. I think they'll be fine. I think Chase he showed a little bit of burst last season. I think they'll figure it out just fine without him. Mixon did have some good bright spots to it, but I think they'll roll just fine without him.
Yeah, I think they'll as a team they'll be fine. I don't think Joe Mixon did anything amazing like as a running back. I think he definitely took advantage of some good opportunities. Always finishes as an RB1. I'm in on Mixon for the first time ever this year. Now that he's in Houston, I think they'll do just fine real football wise. But as far as fantasy goes, I don't think Chase Brown or Zach Moss end up as an RB1. I think they definitely have a shot at RB2. I think all three of us are more Chase Brown guys than Zach Moss. Yeah, Zach Moss, he can go to hell with Jerry Judy and with whoever the hell that was. And anyway, yeah. So I mean, just not a big Zach Moss guy. He feels like just a random running back that they signed. And they signed him to too much, and they're expecting too much. Whenever you got Chase Brown there, and I just think Chase Brown's the better, more explosive back. Let's see. Yeah, T. Higgins. Not sure how the room's feeling on this, but I don't know. I feel like Dynasty, the fantasy community itself is kind of split on T. Higgins, but I think more people tend to like him. I know I don't like him. I'll never draft him at any ADP just because I feel like he gets hurt way too often. When T. Higgins does get hurt and he thinks he's feeling better, he'll try to go again the next week and get injured in the first quarter, and you'll get a 0. I don't know this from personal experience, but from going against people who have him, I'm never worried about him in the lineup. So I mean, T. Higgins, just not someone I'm ever excited about. So I'm a little more excited about Jermaine Burton long term as a good play there. Jamar Chase, how early are you guys willing to take Jamar Chase in a first round season long league?
Coach, I'll let you start with that.
I'd take him in the first round. I'd take him before pick number 6.
Okay.
Sounds about right. I mean, you could make an argument for him, 3 even.
I think he's anywhere 1 to 5, 1 to 6.
Yeah, he's the same exact guy. He is unchanged from last year. And last year he was the interchangeable number 1 pick. So it's just that same thing. It's just like he felt like he didn't exist last year. Him and Burrow, just felt like they weren't even playing football. But take that discount if it's there. I'll take the number 1 pick at number 5. Like, he's the same receiver.
He fell to 1.8 in that draft that everyone was falling, which is criminal. Like, it's crazy. Like the guys that went before him, but yeah, he went 1.8. That's never gonna happen in any other league. But just so you know how late he's fallen, that's probably the worst you'll see.
Did y'all see the update that came out about his contract negotiation today? The quote that came out from the Bengals president Mike Brown on the Jamar Chase extension, quote, "It's not likely that this is the good time to negotiate. The offseason is a better time for that, and we're going to try to keep focused on the football part. I'm not going to rule anything out, but I will tell you that the die has probably been cast. Are you good at riddles?
Dude, I mean, all you need to know is the Bengals are the cheapest team in the league. Like, literally the cheapest team in the league. So he may not be a Bengal at the end of his rookie deal. Like, now it would be terrible if he wasn't, and it doesn't make sense for him not to be. But the Bengals are the cheapest team in the league. Like, he's going to be looking to get paid, whatever the top receiver money is right now. Justin Jefferson's at that number, and he's not going to get it from the Bengals.
Y'all want to know something crazy? Ben Simmons, the basketball player who doesn't play basketball, makes more money than Justin Jefferson per year.
Criminal.
Put your children in Pee Wee basketball today.
Yes. Play basketball.
Start them young.
All right, so Bengals check, and our last one is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and so the Steelers had an interesting offseason. They brought in 2 starting quarterbacks for some reason, and so with the addition of Russell Wilson and Justin, what are we going to do with this? So my question is that I like to start is, no injuries. Does Russell Wilson finish the season as a starting quarterback if there's no injuries?
I think it's 50-50.
Yeah, it's a new system for both.
Feels like a toss-up.
It's a brand new system for both. I'm just not high on them to begin with, except for a specific tight end that's been exposed a couple times. I don't want to name and embarrass him or anything, but I think dumpster fire.
The reason I bring it up is because I've kind of worked it out in my head, and it doesn't make sense. Russell Wilson is gone in a year or two, probably in a year. They're basically, why am I blanking on Justin blank?
Fields.
Justin Fields, they're basically, this is a tryout for Justin Fields. They want him to be the quarterback of the future. How can he be the quarterback of the future if they don't see him play this year? So I think that Russ is going to play. Now, Russ only took that job if they told him he would be the starting QB, and then they bring in Justin Fields. So I just don't see Russ playing the whole year. But then it's Justin Fields. And as Superfan Matt brought up, his offensive coordinator is Arthur Smith, our favorite.
Sexy ass Arthur Smith.
If you thought Matt Canada was bad, just wait till you get Arthur Smith.
So here's the thing with Arthur Smith. Definitely reason to be concerned. He's a sex offender, all that stuff. You don't want him near your guys. But cheese boy alone. So Arthur Butthole Smith really screwed us over last year with, you have Maseratis and Cadillacs and Lambos just sitting there in your garage. Their names are Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. Let's not use them. Let's get a pro Jonnu Smith. Let's use him. Let's make sure that we get, I don't know who else to be involved. Tyler Algier, let's get that guy the ball for sure. Just wasting talent. Arthur Smith is one of the shittiest head coaches I've ever seen for fantasy football.
He's
So
nothing more
anyway,
than a common butt cheese boy.
he's a common butt cheese boy. And we even named an award after him pretty much. The Shit the Bed Award was basically sponsored by Arthur Smith. He had the biggest face on there. And now he's in Pittsburgh. But after saying all of that, I have to say he's a much better offensive coordinator than he is a head coach. Now what that means for our fantasy guys, we'll have to see. But I remember when the Titans had him as their OC, their running game took off like crazy. So maybe a big year coming for Najee Harris. He's in a contract year, might be a good prove it kind of year. Jalen Warren, I think we like that guy a lot. As kind of like the new age Tony Pollard. So maybe expect big years from those guys. One guy in particular. So the receiving core pretty bad outside of George Pops. So you got George over wide receiver one, and then they did get Roman Wilson. So Roman Wilson out of Michigan. The stats aren't going to jump out at you, but that guy can catch anything. I know Coach Tomlin really liked his performance at practices at the Senior Bowl. So Senior Bowl, that's where if you want to know where to find out about rookies and all that before everybody else, before they even get drafted to the NFL, look at that Senior Bowl roster. Pay attention to who's killing it in practice, because I know at a lot of them opt out of the actual game. So like, example, I think Puka Nakua was like really good at the Senior Bowl practices. Like so you can find these guys if you just pay attention to what's going on at the Senior Bowl. Mike Tomlin was there at the Senior Bowl, loved him some Roman Wilson, went ahead and drafted him. Outside of that, I think they have a bunch of dog shit at receiver. But if you want to expose yourself to Pat Freiermuth late in the draft, that's very possible. Grab your trench coat and go for it. Um, and that's doctor's orders. So make sure that you're showing your Pete to Pat. You want to do that. So anyway, I think it's gonna. I don't know. I think they'll have a better year as far as. I know I think I just kind of went on a rant. I forget I think we were talking about the quarterbacks. But yeah, Rusty Wilson. He I don't know. I think it's 50-50 if he keeps or loses his job. I like Justin Fields a lot more, just the rushing upside and everything. Um, and Justin Fields, I think basically whatever the Bears are setting up Caleb Williams for success for, they did the exact opposite with Justin Fields. They didn't give a shit about Justin Fields. I think it's criminal that 31 other teams did not take a chance on Justin Fields, didn't try to trade for him. He's better than a lot of the quarterbacks coming out of the draft right now. I think he got the raw end of the deal, and I think he has something to prove. And anyway, Russell Wilson, he's good enough to keep his starting job, but he's also bad enough to lose it. So Justin Fields, we'll see what he's made of if he can take that job. And who knows, maybe it comes down to wins and losses, and in real life football, blessing us with a Justin Fields opportunity again.
I think training camp's gonna be a big telltale sign of who gets that starting job, because I really think it's up 50-50 at this point. I mean, when Fields is in Chicago, he had some great potential, just held on that ball way too long. I mean, he's got some feet, but when you hold on the ball, you get pressured, you make mistakes.
Yeah, the Justin Fields, like I think Arthur Smith can be okay, like you're saying, as an OC, and with such Justin Fields being a neat player and Arthur Smith being creative, like I wouldn't mind Arthur Smith like flexing his creativity with Justin Fields and doing cool things with him to help him be a better quarterback or a better runner or whatever. So yeah, like I think the sooner Justin Fields gets in there, the better. And even if he sucks, then we can at least be like, okay, we get it. Like he's just not going to pan out fantasy wise. He's not going to pan out for your team. I would just like to know with Justin Fields, because he's been kind of up, down. We're not sure about him for the past couple of years. He has his run of several games in a row where you love him, then he lets you down, then he gets hurt. So I would just like to understand Justin Fields. I will say that my football guys made a great point with Arthur Smith as to why you shouldn't worry about your Pittsburgh running backs. Pointed to the Titans as an example, but also pointed to a strong head coach presence. The Titans had Mike Vrabel and put him in his place and keep him from acting dumb, saying, "Hey, we're not gonna run Jonnu Smith around the end for a touchdown. We're gonna give it to our number one guy." And so Mike Tomlin, same way. He's a tough guy with an iron grip on that team. He's been there forever. He's gonna be like, "No, I know you love Cordell Patterson for some reason. Y'all must like go on vacation together, but we're gonna give the ball to Jalen Warren and Najee Harris, okay?" So I feel as someone who has some Jalen Warren shares, I feel some comfort in that, knowing that Mike Tomlin's going to put Arthur Smith in his place and say, "By God, there's fantasy implications on the line. Run
No.
Jalen Warren."
Yeah.
Now,
Do-
can we talk about George Pickens? I feel like people are all over the place with George Pickens. I know we talked about a little bit about him
Well,
earlier. It could I'm a
so,
little happier with George, but where are y'all at? Mitch,
well,
Paul doesn't like.
hang on. So first, do we think that Mike Tomlin could kick Arthur Smith's ass if they were to fight?
100%.
Yeah, easy, hands
Not
down.
even close.
And Arthur Smith's kind
it
of a
wouldn't
big
be
guy, I
close.
think. And Mike Tomlin's
He's
not a
just
big
fat.
guy.
He's like a baby Logan.
Yeah, he's a big baby Logan for sure.
Yeah. Mike Tomlin, that's a big man. But yeah, George Pickens. So a thumbs down by the peeps.
Yeah.
Why?
I just think he's. I don't want to say like Antonio Brown, but he's too dramatic with everything. I mean, he's got good hands and such, but can you make good plays? Sure, but I just don't. I'm not a fan of anyone who brings high drama to my locker room. I don't want him surrounding my guys. That's just not a guy you want. So for that reason, I say no, man.
Paul's a lunch pail guy. He wants a lunch pail player.
Absolutely, you got it. That old lunch mate.
George, he goes out to sushi every day at lunch and gets sushi.
Yeah, he spends all of his paycheck on eating out at lunch. So and on George Pickens, if he slips, he's not someone that I'm going to overdraft. He's someone that I'll underdraft, or draft right on par with where he's going. Because I think we've seen flashes of it. Yeah, he's a diva. If he's Antonio Brown, I'm all over it. Antonio Brown's probably one of my favorite fantasy football players of all time. Just because I don't know, the antics are crazy. And I'm only talking Steelers Antonio Brown, nothing past that. It kind of sucked after that pretty quick, and it got worse and worse and worse. But horrible for Dynasty, by the way. I remember I traded for him in a league. I think I traded away a young Brandon Cooks for a Raiders Antonio Brown situation. Anyway, it didn't really work out for anyone, but yeah, I mean, George Pickens definitely you can tell whenever he takes plays off to not block. Little, real football things like that that'll just piss you off. It's it kind of reminds me. So I have the same feeling people has, but in fantasy basketball with James Harden. If you ever watch that guy play, he doesn't play any defense. He gives up on every play. He doesn't give a shit. If it came to he's never going to win a championship because he just doesn't have the heart of a champion. And that's I don't know, maybe that's kind of how George Pickens is. I do think there's a little. He's got the dog in him. I don't know. I'm a big believer in George Pickens. I feel like he's a very polarizing fantasy player where a lot of people are just, this is kind of the prove it year on I'm forever in and forever out on George Pickens. I think we're kind of at that fork in the road with him. So that's where I'm at. What about you, Vince?
I think we'll know. It's kind of like Fields. We'll know. Like this, he will be out of any kind of excuse that anyone can make for him because he has two competent quarterbacks. Like definitely with Russ. Like Russ may not be a fantasy quarterback, but he is a competent quarterback who will get you the ball downfield. And Fields can get the ball to playmakers too. Like we saw that last year. With his connection with some of his receivers and his tight end. And so it's no Kenny Pickett situation. It's a real good quarterback and get you the ball. So we'll know with George this year. And I'm positive about it. Like I think if he's got someone who can get him the ball for those deep passes, he'll show up and be more consistent because he was nice. He just wasn't consistent for you. And so it would be nice to see that consistency. So yeah, I would get him. I wouldn't overpay for him, but he's definitely not like I see him as like a Jerry Jeudy, but with more like a positive view of him, whereas Jerry Jeudy have more of a negative view. They could both like have good seasons, but one I might expect it, and the other I would be very surprised.
Yeah, they're not going on the God Squad.
No.
Like too risky. Like it's I don't know. But yeah, I mean George Pickens the only. I keep wanting to call him George Pops, the old owner of Fox's Pizza in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Same build, same athleticism. But yeah, I mean, so George Pickens, like his thing, he didn't get the volume, but I fully put it on Kenny Pickett. Like I never blame him for it, but I would imagine it being very frustrating to see like, oh, George Pickens 29-point week, next week 1.4. Like, and you had a lot of those little 1-2 point weeks with Pickens last year, I feel like, the last couple years. But we'll see if NFL young boy can turn it around. He's definitely a diva, definitely someone who feels like he needs the ball all the time. He can snag it out of the air with anybody. They just got to be able to get it over to him, and I think we'll see what happens.
And you bring up a good point there with the high and low weeks. Is I think if we're talking the normal, PPR league, for example, my opinion is I would steer clear of him. That's just me. As you said, very polarizing figure. But if you're in a best ball league, I think Fields is a fantastic option. Pickens, fantastic option because of the high potential both those guys have to get it done in the air, on the ground. I mean, both those guys can light it up. So those best ball leagues, I know there's not maybe a ton out there, but I would definitely take a shot on those guys in that type of league.
That's like the perfect league for a George Pickens pick. Like that's one where, say, Peepaw's on the rotation and George Pickens is right there. We might see Peepaw take George Pickens.
100%. In that situation,
best ball.
I just don't want him on a PPR league, but best ball is a completely different strategy.
Peeps is going out to lunch or sushi with George Pickens. He's leaving his lunch pail at home because it's best ball.
Bring in the lunch meat, though. Gotta bring it.
Oh, okay. You're gonna bring it to the sushi place.
We're going out, but we're not ordering sushi, but we're going out with him.
We'll show our lunch meat to Pat Fryermuth if he'll look.
Take a look at this lunch meat, Pat. Okay, and on that note, I think we got to get out. I think that's the perfect ending. So that's the AFC North. We have 7 more divisions to go, so stay tuned for that. In our next video, we're going to be hitting up the NFC East. So a lot of interesting things to talk about in that league, some fun additions and weird not doing anything from the Cowboys in that league. So stay tuned for that. And it's been a long time, so I really hope I don't mess this up. But so there's 5 things you should do when you do these things. Good stuff happen. You should live, laugh, love, like, and subscribe. 5th Quarter Fantasy Cast. Go.